Welcome to the At a Total Loss podcast, where lost moms candidly talk about their experiences with stillbirth that have left them at a total loss for words. It is through our stories that we hope to give you support, motivation, friendship, and maybe a laugh or two. But most importantly, we hope to give you light in the darkest moments of your life. I'm Catherine, a lost mom to my beautiful son Brody, who was born still at 36 weeks on January 18th, 2022. While trying to survive the sadness and find answers as to why he died, I found this community of incredible women willing to share their journey, experiences, and sometimes margaritas so that I didn't feel alone. They helped me survive, and I hope we can do the same for you. So grab some wine and some tissues as we navigate this awful world of stillbirths that has left us all at a total loss. Well, I'm thankful that you're here. You have not gone anywhere in the last 7 months. And, you know, I think that throwing my sister on the mic, I don't know whose idea this was. And I think that we're about to probably have a pretty emotional episode. And I think that's okay. I think that anybody listening to this understands how emotional it is, and how challenging it is, that it doesn't just affect the lost mom. It doesn't just affect the mother or the father whose baby dies. It affects literally everybody around you in a ripple effect. And I think it's really important that not only do we talk to each other as lost moms, but that we bring in people who are close to us, who have been there for us and may not necessarily have known what to do or how to do it. So I brought my sister, Kristina, and I live probably less than a mile from each other, 4 minutes. I've counted it. I actually walked to our house. It's super fun. And we grew up together. Literally, we are a year and a half apart, and we did everything together as kids. And it was just the two of us for a long time. And then about 7 years after Kristina was born, Joey, our little brother, came in. And so it's the three of us, and we're really tight. Kristina and I, oh my gosh, we danced together. We did a whole bunch of fun things growing up.
Yeah, all the way through college. So it wasn't just growing up. It was in high school. As much as our mom talks about, she tried to help us have our own group of friends. That never worked out. We went to the same schools, same college, same dance team. A dance team after that, professionally for a year. We lived together multiple times, other than growing up. So yeah, I think it's about as close as you can get with a sibling. And some people say, oh, you guys are like twins, but some twins aren't even probably as close.
That's true. It's a little strange. I think I had to explain it to Michael when I first started dating. I'm like, okay, so there's two of us. He's like, what does that mean? And not to mention, you guys, if you ever look up Kristina, or me even, because you can't see us right now, but we look very much alike. And it's hilarious. I'm 5'1". She's probably 5 feet. You're 5 feet?
Barely.
Are we shrinking yet?
I think I'm 4'11", but I just say 5 feet because gymnastics took an inch from me.
Isn't that true? Oh my God. Yeah, we're little and we sound the same. So hopefully you can keep our voices.
I was thinking about that. I'm like, how are they going to, they're going to think she's talking to herself.
That was Kristina, and this is Catherine. I'm talking to myself. It happens. But I don't pay for studio time to do that.
Yeah,
do
right.
That for free.
Talk to myself at home.
So we are very close. And I say that only because it kind of just puts into perspective of your viewpoint in all of this, how it impacted you. And we've survived it as sisters, which I'm actually really thankful for, because I think as a lost mom, you shut out. You just completely say, I don't want to, right after your baby dies, you just don't want to talk to anybody. You don't want to see anybody. You feel like a failure. You feel miserable. You're heartbroken. You're crushed. Your hopes, your dreams for this child are over. You're desperately trying to hang on to your relationship with your partner. They're mourning too. I think it's a really horrible, traumatic event that kind of makes you question a lot about life. And I'm thankful, though, that, I've lost a lot of relationships, but this one between us, we have not lost it. And it almost never felt like that was an option for us. So I'm super thankful for that. Not going to lie, there were days that I just didn't want to see anybody, especially somebody with 3 living children, and that was challenging. But that was just a couple of days here and there. So I kind of want to hear what you have to say. Like, I mean, for reference point, you guys, when I found out that Brody had died, Kristina was like, after my husband was like the next text that I sent, like, come over. And therefore she was there minutes after I found out. She was in the room when he was born. She was there holding it down because your girl almost died, right? I laugh, but like literally after birth, I almost died. So like I went into ICU. Kristina was there like holding it down. And then she was there pretty much every single day for the last probably 5 months checking in. So her perspective is one that is right up front. And I think nobody really asks the support person how they're doing. And I think that's kind of the goal of this is if people take care of the support person, if the support person knows what to do, that indirectly and also directly helps the lost mom. So talk to me about how you first started to get resources on what to do for me and when that was.
Yeah. It was instant because just by putting it out there to close friends and family, what we were going through, because it instantly impacted our lives. Like, what was going day to day. We knew you were going into the hospital. We knew what was about to happen. And we were trying to prepare, like, I guess our circle, our family, our parents were there. My husband got involved at that point because I had to let him know, and he had to clear his schedule and just make sure I could be free to be there for you. And just by doing that, really, really close friends of ours had someone who went, or a close friend of mine, let's put it that way, her best friend had gone through it, which we've also found as we talk more and more about, lost moms and the stillborn community, everybody knows somebody to a degree, and it's very scary. But just by communicating, it opened the door immediately for me to get on the phone with someone. I mean, you had just checked in that night, I think, to the hospital. Nothing had even gone down yet. And she gave me amazing advice that I still have a notebook. And I think without talking to her, I might have been incredibly lost. Like, I wouldn't have known what to do. But she gave me enough bullet points and nuggets, like, okay, this is what's going to happen, and this is what you need to do. And one of the biggest things she told me was that, I guess, gave me some insight about what you were going to go through. Mm-hmm. And going forward, it just became a priority that in the days, weeks, like after Brody was born and everything you went through with it. So it kind of, I guess, just set me up in a situation where I just made it a point every single day. Like, part of my days were going to be devoted towards you and your recovery. Mm-hmm. And that's easier said than done when, you have a family, you have kids of your own. And I think it just became a priority. And thank God you live so close. So it became easy. Not easy, but it became like, okay, I had to like rely on help around me. My afternoons are going to be spent at Catherine and Michael's house. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Being the support person is also full-time. And I think that's what we want to shed some light on, is that you didn't have a playbook either. And it's really important that the support people have support in these situations, because it's go mode once this happens. And what's wild is, I really hope, you listening, that there was at least one person there, that was one person by your side, one person that showed up, because there's a lot of people that don't. And for some reason, we focus on those way more. Like, we're so devastated by those that said stupid shit, or we're so like put off by how could they be so selfish? When in all actuality, even if there's one person who has shown up and been there, and maybe they didn't say the right thing all the time, we have to pay attention to those people as well and be thankful for those people.
Well, I think being the support people, myself included, when, the person I spoke to right off the bat told me, use the baby's name, be aware, know what happened, talk about him, bring him into discussion, support whatever they want to do, burial plans or keeping the nursery together or taking it down, support everything that they want to do to validate what you're going through. And I could see someone who didn't have support or no one really reacting, if you will, to not only what you're going through. You've lost your child and everything, like your whole world has come crashing down, but the traumatic experience y'all went through of in the hospital, having to deliver, like these things are so, you can't even talk about this with some people because they don't know, they can't fathom, they don't want to put themselves in the situation to think about it. And it's so almost not taboo, but it's so morbid to a degree. People don't want to talk about it. So I think when, her name was Heather, the woman that I spoke to, when Heather told me to embrace it essentially, and make sure you embrace it. More importantly, you take the pictures, you say his name, we baptize him, we do everything we can, we honor his existence. And I think by her telling me to do that, I tried to help you and Michael do that because a lot of people don't want to talk about it. And they, like you just said, if people don't have people to support them and boost them up, or not boost them up, but like help them embrace it and talk about it and work through it, a lot of people will go quiet into the night. And they will not be good on the other end of it. And they will go home and they will either try to forget it even happened or they will not talk about it to the degree, like, hello, you're sitting here talking about it on a podcast. So I think it's in those initial stages, it's okay to say, we had a baby. The baby is deceased. We've decided to cremate it. We've named it. We've baptized it. Like, this is stuff people look at you like you have 7 heads when you talk about it if you haven't experienced it. We probably would have in a past life. So by hearing her talk and hearing her validate, this is what's going to happen. Like, this is how it goes. And Catherine's going to go through a rush of emotions, a roller coaster. Michael too. Your parents, like everybody, your family. You're going to lose relationships. You're going to have people react weird. You're going to have, she really gave me like an hour crash course on, how everything is going to just change. And it's funny, as things started to progress weeks, months after, she was so right. Like, she nailed everything. So she was my light that helped me through it. She talked about her light. Someone who had a stillborn experience was her light. So then we looked for your light. Who was going to be? Was it going to be Heather? Was it you found other women that have been on this podcast that became your light as far as where you go next from an experience perspective? But going back to just the support, I think being there and understanding, I had to wrap my head around it and I had to talk about it and I had to treat it as serious as it was and as tragic as it was and face it head on and validate everything that happened. By doing that, I think it gave, hopefully, you and Michael, more room to talk about it openly and not hold it all inside. Particularly Michael, because I feel like he was not going to talk about it at all. But we were the ones that, like, no, we're going to say his name. His name was Brody. His name is Brody. He was born. And we need everybody to understand that, the severity of what just happened. Because you never really will. I don't even think we can explain it to people. We can't tell them to a degree. And then that's the phase 2 when people react. They send the food, they send the gifts, they say the right things, they say the wrong things. But then life goes back to normal. I mean, you're a different situation. You had a lot of health concerns post you personally, which scared me just as more. I mean, you nearly dying after the fact was the worst part of it all for me. But
I forget that, dude.
You weren't coherent. You were completely out of body experience at that point in time. How could you? You probably.
I keep forgetting that part. I can't remember. Y'all, okay. So, I mean, I have not talked about yet this, but all I remember really, I have flashes of what happened. Okay, so I DIC, and I hemorrhaged. This was shortly after Brody, and then everyone was still in the room. Like, my in-laws were in the room. Kristina, you're sitting there next to our mother, and next thing I know,
Dad had just gotten in with the Lazars.
Yeah,
I just walked in, and it was like you went from 0 to 60. And the weird thing is, to me, my memory is that I'm sitting there. They're like, oh, we're in the room. We made it. I think someone was holding Brody at that point, and it might have been Mrs. Lazar or our mom. But when it it was like everything became in slow motion, like I was underwater because I see what's happening with you in the bed. I'm like, everybody needs to get out of this room right now. Like we put them behind the curtain at the door because it was not good. And nobody knew that. Nobody realized it. But I was like, no, this isn't good at all. We have to get out of this room, and we need to start praying hard that whatever's happening right now is fixable. Because it was instant. I mean, you literally were bleeding like profusely, nonstop. So anyway, because of that situation, your days after the fact it was even more stressful. Mm-hmm. Brody, it wasn't an afterthought, but now the priority was like, we got to get Catherine through this, like, all together. So
yeah, you saw some shit that day. You saw a lot. Have you ever had a chance to really process it? You really, after that, I mean, you saw your nephew born. You saw your sister struggle. You saw how it affected everybody, and you just seemed to keep it together so well. And not at any point did you lose your shit, and like you were always consistently trying to make sure I didn't. So at any point, do you feel that you have had a chance to properly, I don't know, mourn, talk, process, or have you not given yourself that time to do that?
No, I mean, one, I don't. There is zero reason for me to like lose my shit over any, you know what I mean? I am the one on the sidelines. Do it like the best thing I can do, and what helps me is to help you. Like at the end of the day, it's not, I don't need to go. I mean, I guess I've had my outlets where I've talked about it and I have support, and people I've talked to have sent you things like just wonderful. You find wonderful, wonderful, good people out there through all of it, which is like maybe the only silver lining is that we found really good humans. Which is so crazy and then you find out ones that aren't so good humans.
Oh God.
And not that they're not good humans. It's just it's being aware and reading a room like more than ever. And not only am I doing it with a stillborn situation or a loss situation, in any situation, when you know someone's going through something, that's one of the takeaways is text them. Hey, how's it going? I just heard about this. I heard your dad's in the hospital. Is everything okay? Like just communicate with people. Like that's one of the biggest takeaways for me is make sure people know you're thinking about them and you're there for them. Because I can imagine you feel like you're on an island by yourself. I know what it was like to go through postpartum with living children. I can't even fathom postpartum, your body going through having a baby and you don't have a baby. Like I can't, that's unfathomable. It's unfathomable, but I know. So, but going back, I think the biggest thing, here's my lineage, and this is kind of how I process, I guess, is I have to think in succession. Once you were home, and once the food, we did a meal train for 2 weeks, that I ate most of it.
Oh my
let's
God.
put it out there, because I ate everything. Yeah. You didn't eat it. I was eating it in your kitchen for days on end.
Oh, it was you?
Who was the one that made the dang 7-layered amazingness?
Oh, Kate, if you're listening.
My goodness.
Kate, you're the bomb.
It's your fault. I gained all that weight. No, just kidding. We camped out at your house. Our poor mother was there. She was really the one holding it down. I made it a priority every day. I'm going over there, even if it's for an hour, if it's for 2 hours. Like I'm gonna do whatever I can. Even like I think there was one time you're like, I don't want to see anybody today, and I stayed away. I tried to get my feelings hurt for like 5 seconds. And I'm like, wait, what am I talking about? She could tell me to go jump in traffic, and I'd be like, okay, she's just having a bad day. It's good. We'll get through this.
Life.
We'll get through this. Yeah, nothing I was going through. To this day, I even try to watch how much I moan and groan, because nothing is as bad as what you've experienced and what you're continuing to experience.
Well, that was good that you did that. I think a lot of people would get like butthurt and be like, F her, I'm not going over,
Oh,
but
yeah.
The perspective of the support is like, they're going to probably say some crazy shit. I don't remember. And if you've asked any lost mom, like at least the first 3 months, we don't remember anything we said. We don't remember.
There's no chance. You're in an alternate universe. You're on every medication known to man, between getting induced to, they put you on morphine. You were sedated for surgery. You were knocked out. You had blood transfusion. Like you were just not a healthy human being. Mentally, physically.
When you list it all out like that.
You were just a disaster of it was a lot, and your body was trying to recover. So there's no way you remember that first week. I mean, I barely do. You become a machine. Wake up, get, I made it a routine though. Like get up, get dressed for the day, get the kids situated, and get over there. And I did that probably for 2 or 3 weeks. And then you went on vacation, I went on vacation, but I tried to tell myself, okay, she's still going through it. Just because I'm out of sight, out of mind doesn't mean she's not still waking up every day with this nightmare over her head. So I've consistently, I think it's to a degree brought us a little closer because I call you all the time. I never called you on the phone. We would just text and be done, but I call you and make sure, I don't come over as much, but I'm constantly checking in. I think I probably should do more, but that's what people really like. Where you start to drop the ball is life goes back to normal. And you try to manage, oh, I'm so busy, or I've got this, or I've got that, but it doesn't go away for y'all. It doesn't just, oh, poof, she's better. Everybody else is busy. She should get busy too. And that was been the hardest part, I think, for me. When you talk about have you been able to process it and adjust? Yeah, I've had my moments where even with my family or my husband, I've had to say, look, whether it's anybody wants me to do this or not on a given day, this is the priority and this is what I'm going to go do. So the best thing I could possibly do is try to help you because you are on the island by yourself. You are the one that's trying to navigate who you can talk to and who you can't talk to. It's just there's so much involved.
This is why I wanted you to talk, because you did it so well. You did it in a way that I just truly wish a lot of people understood, because the way that we are trying to navigate this as a lost parent, as somebody whose child died, the way that we're trying to get through the dark and the muck and the sad and all that, you are there witnessing it. And even if you don't feel like doing it, you said, I still have to frickin' do this. And this is how we are. We don't want to do this. But if you're going to be in someone's life who goes through one of the worst things a human can go through, you have to buckle up and kind of know that you're going to be in this too. You've got to jump in and do it. And if more people did this and supported us and knew that it wasn't just today I think I'm going to check in, that it is an everyday thing for somebody that you care about that's going through this. And that's why I wanted you to talk, because sometimes I think support people need coaching like we do. And not coaching, sorry, what's the word? Cheerleading like we do. You can do this. Get up, text them, call them. They're going to tell you to F off. Go over anyway. Like the things that it's so helpful, because at least I can get up and be like, what are the lost moms doing today? And I can feed off their energy, or I can talk to them about what's going on, and we cheer each other on and we motivate each other. But who do you talk to? Who does a support person talk to on what should I do here? How do I help them?
Yeah.
And it is your life too now, especially being family. And if you're going to be in someone's life like this, your life is going to be inadvertently altered as well.
100%. And it's just a lot about, like I said before, communication. You can't over communicate at this point. You'll tell me if okay, I'm having a day, or I don't want to talk to anybody, I don't want to see anybody. Great. But that doesn't mean, go away for the next day. You cannot over communicate. So always, point one, always communicate with someone going through this. And by the way, this is any kind of trauma, loss, tragedy. Just show them that you're there for them. And a lot of it was about giving you grace. I use that term a lot in talking to family, friends, people that wanted to justify, well, she didn't call me back. She didn't text me back. I didn't like her response. She made me feel a certain way. I'm like, Catherine could go tell you to jump off a bridge or kick your dog or whatever, and I'm going to give her the grace to do that right now. She's allowed to do and say whatever she wants because she is grieving, and this is how she's doing it and going through it. So your feelings of being offended by Catherine's actions and behavior don't count right now. I'm sorry, maybe down the road, but right now, I'm giving Catherine grace. I've given our mom grace. I've given, well, that's about it, and Michael grace. It's those are the three people that are allowed to say and do whatever they please with the way that they are grieving. And I think that's just only fair, because that's the only way to get through it. Otherwise, you're going to start hacking people left and right. Oh, you're out. You're done. I'm done. If you want to be a part of Catherine's life and support her, then support her. If you don't like the way she's treating you, or however you want to put it, then this relationship's probably done. Like there's no going forward from there.
And that's why I'm so thankful that you are kind of my bouncer, so to speak, or like you were defending us, because coming from us, it probably wouldn't have resonated. They probably would have just been like, or she's being a jerk, because they didn't understand. They weren't there. So you being the mouthpiece saying, no, this is what's going on. She's allowed to say that. What you should do in response is this. I mean, that's really important. I mean, we're all humans. I don't think, and I talked about this not too long ago, about people's intentions. And you always say, make sure you're intentional with what you say, intentional with what you do. And people's intentions are somewhat supposed to be good in this whole experience, but they don't come off that way, especially when they try to start writing us off because we aren't responding, or we aren't saying the right thing, or we're not paying attention to them, or we're not thanking them for the whatever they sent. So I think you standing up and saying, first of all, seeking out the advice from someone else is super key. Some people think they can do this alone. It's helpful to seek out advice from people who have been there. And that's why I really wanted you to talk and get on one of these episodes, because I think that your perspective on how you handled it is so important. And the way that you defended, you didn't get offended. You basically stood your ground and said, no, this is what happened, and they're allowed to act this way, and you're not going to act this way. And if you act this way, you're going to be out.
I mean, it's a life-altering situation for everybody involved, particularly you and Michael. You will never be the same human beings. And I'd like to think, I mean, I'm sure maybe me to a degree, maybe Mom to a degree, but you will never be the same human. It's life-altering. It's like you look at life differently. You look at faith differently. You look at everything differently. And people don't understand how changing that is, how big it is, like how massive it is. It is a huge deal. And I don't know, if I didn't talk to someone right off the bat to give me clarity, I might have coasted through it. I don't know. I may have been like, all right, we're going to get through this. This happens to people. You're going to move on. We're going to figure it out. But just having someone tell me like, this is going to be with her for the rest of her life. Like just all of you. It's going to be with you all for the rest of your life. And until someone tells you that, you're kind of like in the clouds with it. You know what I mean? You're just like, all right, well, today's another day. And then you got all those people who want to tell you how to, it's okay, it'll pass, you'll heal, time heals everything. Like that. And by the way, I'm one of those people. Like I get it. With time heals all. You're gonna, there's a silver lining of, pick your Bible verse that tells you you're gonna be a better person in the end for this. But like at the end of the day, that's not what it feels like now. That doesn't help. So I think just by totally embracing the fact, and anybody who goes through this, so if you are a support person and you're listening and you are going through this with someone, you embrace it. You let them know that they are allowed to act as if the world has completely calmed down on their shoulders. Let them act like that. Let them have all the grace in the world, all the space in the world. Let them be angry, let them be upset, and still be there for them. Like that's the best, that's all you can do, because that's the only thing that's going to help to a degree. Still doesn't help that much.
And I think you're nailing it, because I think a lot of people enter in and say, roll up their sleeves. I'm going to make them feel better. I'm going to make life better. I'm going to make sure they know that it's going to get better. And there's all these platitudes and this toxic positivity, and there's all this stuff. And I'm just going to fix them. And what we are screaming is that we cannot be fixed. There's not one single thing you can say coming in, sitting down across from us, that is going to make us feel better. And I'm doing air quotes. It's not a fixer. What you can do, and what you did very well, is exactly that. You were there and embraced the entire situation. You let me feel. You let me do what I needed to do. You let me grieve. You're letting me cope. You're doing everything. And you're not coming in and saying, again, like you just said, oh, here's a Bible quote. Read this every morning and poof, you're going to be better.
Oh my gosh.
Like you're not fixing. The best thing I think a support person can do is say, this sucks. It's the shittiest thing that's ever happened to a human. I'm here with you, not judging you through this entire journey. Boom, bam, done. Because half the time, I mean, that's all we really need to know.
Yeah.
And I know that's hard, though. I know that's really hard for somebody to walk in, see their loved one so hurt and sad and upset and crushed and devastated, and not be able to fix them.
Yeah.
That's a hard place to be in.
I think, but you have to break it down like day to day. And I think there were some days, correct me if I'm wrong, but that just simply by coming in and talking to you and letting you like, let's talk about it again. Let's go through it again. Let's get rid of that guilt you have today. Let's get rid of that sadness. Like, let's go through it again. Talk about it as much as you want. I could fill in some gaps for you if it was the information was there. I think just some days it didn't fix anything, but maybe it put you in a little bit better headspace than when you woke up or before I got there.
Yeah.
Like I held on to that. I'm like, no, I'm going to go over there because I think sometimes even if we just talk for a few minutes and again, communicating, getting it out there, exercising the demons, if you will, like let's go through it. I think even that helped. So like whether it's a phone call or like call someone or FaceTime them or whatever, if someone's going through this, like you need to give them the outlet to talk.
I actually forgot about that. Yes, so that's a really good point. So when I would just word vomit over and over again, probably every single day for a good few weeks, what happened in the days leading up to Brody's death, like the doctor's appointments, my whole pregnancy, when I would spiral again over the facts and be like, oh, I fucked up, or I forgot this, or I missed that, you would be like, no, remember this happened? Remember this detail you said to me before? Remember the doctor said this? So like you were spitting back to me facts that my grief brain could not remember. Mm-hmm. And that honestly did calm me down a lot of times, a lot. And it was just me saying, you didn't even like probably talk. I just started word vomiting and grief vomiting all over you. And you were picking out things like, no, remember that wasn't your fault. This is what happened that day. And that is truly, truly very helpful.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can imagine people sit there and if they have no outlet to talk to anybody or anybody who wants to listen, they sit there and they come up with stories in their head of like, I should have done this, I should have done that. And that's half the battle is getting rid of those feelings on top of what you're going through and being empty arms and at a total like loss for sure. I think all the extra things that come with it, the grief. I could have done it this way. I didn't do this. I should have spoken up for But the more you talk it through, I think what I've been seeing is what's helped you the most on a given day is just to talk about it and go through it and remember like you were only controlled to a degree, and then everything else was out of your hands. So for me, that was kind of the goal. Like, oh, she doesn't, oh, she doesn't want to see me today. I don't need to go over there. Oh, I was over there yesterday. But like, no, go over there. If, get there, be there, call, just be present because the conversation will come up and it will most likely help someone. Just talk about it. And there's been days like I'm sure Michael's gotten an earful and you're like, okay, I can't talk to him anymore today. Yes, like I've completely exhausted Michael today.
My husband's checking out. He's not listening to me anymore. But I'm being dramatic. But yeah, I mean, and then after all these days, weeks of standing in my kitchen, just grief vomiting all over you, I finally said, I can't do this to her anymore. And, I had a therapist that I decided like I was going to grief vomit all over the therapist. But to this day though, because I knew I'm like, this cannot be good for our relationship. This was me coming to. This was probably like month 4, like right before I left even for our trip to Egypt. I think I was like, when I come back, like this has to stop. I have to stop doing this to my family. And if you're listening to this and you are like, you don't understand that, you're just probably not there yet, and that's okay. This is waves, and the waves that we all go through, the family's going to go through it too. The close people, the support people are going to go through it too. But I think even now, and be completely transparent with me because I'm 7 months out. No, 8 months out. No, what am I?
January.
I'm 7.
February, March,
I'm 7. Oh, you guys, I don't know what day it is. I know my cycle day though.
Yeah, that's all that matters, right?
Jesus.
Talk about
when are we going to talk
about perspective?
TTC. Oh yeah, that's another episode. So even to this day, 7 months out, I kind of want to go and text novels and grief spiral and be like, I could have done this and I should have done that. But because I did it so much in the days and the weeks and the months after Brody's death, that I truly now can say to myself, stop, go take a walk. You're spiraling. Go do something. Go watch some trash TV. Go do something else. You cannot start going down this again because you know what's going to happen. You're just going to say, you're right, it wasn't my fault at the very end. So because you took the time and you listened and we got this out for the first few months, I think that's when hopefully us lost moms, we still obviously are going to spiral sometimes and want to say things and talk and go down that path of coulda, shoulda, woulda. But it's not going to be as frequent because we hash it out so early in advance.
Yeah.
I remember being an ear is important.
That you got some information from another doctor and it was so like heartbreaking because he literally told you things that you feel like, I mean, I felt like, and I didn't, again, go through it, but I was feeling the grief and the guilt of like, oh my God, we should have done it differently. We should have, and if I was feeling that, then I knew you were just kicking your own ass like hourly. And I think I even said to you, the only thing that's going to fix this is you've got to get so exhausted with the idea and the thought process. Like you're going to just exhaust it. Like you just have to think about it, talk about it. Let's go over it again. Let's just get angry and let's just get it out because the only thing that's going to take this away is you're going to get so tired of thinking about it.
That's
like
so
literally.
I thought about that the other day. I tried to go there with every single detail and I just gave up. I was like, I can't. My brain, it was so much. That's so interesting. I wonder, I haven't really talked about this much with lost moms, but maybe that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing with anything you do. If you exhaust something to the point, I mean, it could be something good. You're just going to kind of be like, I cannot think about this anymore. The brain is such an interesting thing, especially processing and dealing with trauma after.
It's like forgetting pain. Like, you're obviously not going to ever forget the pain of what you've been through, but it won't be as like gut punch when you think about a thought after so much time because, it's like not remembering pain. You don't let your mind go there or you've exhausted it or you can't, get in that headspace anymore because you're there for so long and so constant. But hopefully, I mean, it's good to hear. This is the first time I've heard you say that you're finally to a point where like you're not constantly blaming yourself all day, every day.
I am. I don't know. I mean, I think there will always be a part of me that wishes I could go back. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. That's normal. That's natural. I think that's for anybody who loses somebody they love.
Yeah.
Regardless of whatever stage of life they're in, or in this case, haven't even started life. But I just think now that going over and over and over and over and over it again and again and again, every single time I've ever done that, I've always walked away going, but I did the best. I did everything that I could. I did everything that I knew to do. And with each piece of information from each doctor that I speak to, and I find out more information, you kind of go through another level of, oh shit, well, I didn't know that then. Oh my God, like I could go back and I could do this. And if I did this and I did this, and trust me, to this day, I still wish that I had done something different at my last appointment. I still think that I should have been with a different doctor's office. But again, when you start to put the facts out, when you go, I need to, and I've been wanting to write down the straight facts. You had 3 healthy babies, 40 and 41 weeks, at the same doctor's office, at the same hospital. Our best friend, 3 healthy babies, same doctors, same hospital. Like, this was a prestigious office. Like, it's not like that just means a lot of people were going there. It didn't have a reputation of losing babies, is what my point is when I say that. And it was like, at the end of it, how could I have possibly known that this was an outcome? How could I possibly have known? So when I throw in all the details and I try to go back, it always ends up the same thing that I come to conclusion. I did everything I could. How could I possibly have known? If I could go back and save him, I would, but I can't. Well, now what? And that's the crazy thing. At the very beginning, and this is wild, and lost moms, you probably understand that we're crazy. I thought if I could talk about this enough, somehow magically I could go back in time.
Yeah.
Like if I just say it enough, I'll feel better or I'll be able to go back, which is crazy, but that's not it. So here we are. Life has moved on. And I think, again, I'm circling back, there's a degree of blame, but I can't sit and think about it. I can't. And that's why, as a being in this grief thing, We have to find a proper amount, like the balance, just like anything. So when I want to spiral, I literally have to stop. I have to stop myself because it's not good. It's not good for me. My heart, my head, my emotions. So because you and I and our family and our close friends have had so many conversations, I'm able to pull from those when I need to. I'm able to hear voices, your voice. So that's why the communication, like you said, is so important.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's just like the main thing for anybody in a sport situation is like, I'm here if you need to talk. Like that's all there is to it. I'm not going to say the right thing. I can't bring anybody back, but I'm going to give you the platform and the justification and the space and the grace to say anything and everything you need to say. Nothing's off limits. Nothing's crazy. You just get it all out. And I think that is like, I think that's helped you. I mean, even getting to this point, obviously you're someone who likes to talk about it, or that's how you grieve. Some people hold it in. I don't know if that's necessarily healthy, but that's just how some people do it, is they hold it in. And maybe it comes out months, days, years later. But the act of doing what you've been doing from day one is talking about Brody openly and continuing to go through all the emotions, all the feelings, the highs and lows, telling the story. You know, you didn't stop yourself early on and say, nobody wants to hear it. Like, you did it. You got it out. And I think that sounds like you've kind of, through communication, gotten to a point where you're, you know, it's helped you, essentially. I mean, again, not fixing anything, not totally changing anything, but part of the healing or the coping, if you will, is talking about it, discussing it, getting it out, and having the platform to do that.
Is there a point now at 7 months, though, and I think I tried to mention this earlier and we segue, but that enough is enough? Like, because sometimes I feel like I want to talk about it again and I want to go over things again and I want to, you know, but I feel like it's falling on ears that are just like, enough, get over it already. Is that, and be, you know, completely transparent, because I know as lost moms, we sometimes feel like everyone around us is over it, or we are kind of over it at some point, like, oh my God, another grief day. Like, so is there a point that a support person is kind of like, all right, enough. I now have to help her move forward, because we're not going to move on.
Right.
But at some point you're like, damn bitch, like, I'm going to have to get you to stop talking about it so much. We got to move forward.
I think to a degree.
You never said that to me, by the way.
It's not, yeah. Would you, I'm not mute, click. I'm not picking up today.
Never.
No, I don't think, I think at any point in time in our entire lives, like if you need to talk about facts or things or what's happening, like to answer your question, no, because we talk about Brody daily, do we not? I mean, every time I talk to you, it does come up at some point, what's going on? Is it with the event you're throwing, or it's a part of your life? So everybody needs to get used to that. One, if you're sick of hearing it, then you're not going to have a relationship with the person, because you can't just stop talking about it. You won't. Now, now if you're wallowing and you're like making yourself upset and you're getting worked up over things you cannot go back and fix, yeah, then maybe there's like a, Kat, we've been through this. You can't do anything about it. Like, then I will start with the coaching of, okay, let's look at something else. Let's focus on something else. Let's look at it a different way, because this is not helping you at all. And especially if you're trying to conceive again, you need your mind right. You need your body right. You need to be not stressed out. Like, so yeah, for your well-being. But at the end of the day, it's always going to be in your conversation. What the hell does everybody else who have kids talk about? They're friggin' kids. Like, to a disgusting fault.
From the mouth of someone who has 3. I didn't say that.
I mean, they're all consuming. They are. And yours is as well. He may not be with us, but he is all consuming, and he is your life. Just like every single one of us have kids that are our life. And you are just inundated with it. And that's where your mind is. That's where your heart is every day. You're not going to wake up and forget about him. Why should everybody else? Because, you know, it just, but I think to your point, like when it starts to get like, okay, you're not going to move forward unless you kind of change and we've had those discussions, like you can go through it and through it and through it and through it, but we keep coming to the same answer. He is an angel, and he's going to make you a better human being at the end of the day out of all of this. All of us. He's going to make us all better.
I think that's why they say time doesn't heal everything. I think all time does is give you the opportunity to get used to this feeling, because I will forever be sad. I will forever mourn him. I will forever miss my child. I don't even think I need to explain it to anybody who's listening to this. So the grief doesn't go away, but it does change. You acknowledge the grief, you sit in the grief, you honor the grief really early out, and it's pretty much all day, every day. And then soon after that, it's a little bit every day. And then soon after that, it's every other day. And then after that, it's every other day. And it's always going to be there, but you're not going to sit into it it's not going to be as heavy as it was in those first few days, few weeks. So I think like everything, well, I'm going through these waves and phases of this. So are the people around me. And we're now adapting to this new phase, which is month 7. Next month will be exactly the same amount of time that I carried him. And that's another wave. And then we're going to go through holidays. That's a wave. And then his first birthday, that's a wave. And then hopefully other children, that's a wave. And so I think the grief is going to change and what that looks like. With that said, the needs of the lost mom is going to change. And the fact that you're so perceptive on that, what I need, putting your own needs aside for a second to make sure that what I need is being met, that's really huge. Paying attention to that. And just because you're over it doesn't mean we are. I'm not saying you're over it, but I'm saying some people are like, enough already, doesn't mean we are. And you understanding that's really important as a support person, as somebody close to this. A lot of people don't get that.
Yeah. And, it could get difficult because you do start to, like me particular, like you come first, whether it's one of my kids' birthday parties and there's someone that doesn't fit into the equation, you get first right of refusal if you're coming or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so everybody's got to be on par with that too. And I mean, to a degree, not worried about offending people and hurting. You can't worry about everybody's feelings. You really can't. Which is kind of, it's tough. It's tough because you don't want to be heartless and you want to be mindful of other people and the way they feel. But at the end of the day, like the priority is to get through this the best way we know how and to protect our own hearts. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've done some things where I probably wouldn't do otherwise, but I'm protecting my own heart and I need to move forward too, the way that I know how. You're the priority. We want you to push through as hard as you possibly can, as well as you possibly can. And like you said, in all these waves, like I've just told everybody around us, like just know Catherine and Michael are the priority. Like whether it's a get together or a trip or a plan, like everybody needs to know they're the priority. So you could get offended, you could get mad, you could not show up. That's fine. But just know, like, that just is what it is. There's a big picture here, and the big picture is your heart's healing as best as you possibly can. And we're just going to do it that way. That's all there is to it. And I think it's a way to look at loss and grieving and coping and everything in any circumstance, in any situation. If someone loses a parent, if someone loses, an older child or an adult child, like, you have to be mindful of the people that are at loss. You're not going through it. You're fine. Like, you're going to be fine. You're going to be okay. Like, leave all the other emotions aside. Yeah. Let's make this as best as we possibly can. And that's probably going to be for months, years to come. As you said, we go through all these waves and these new cycles and these new milestones and everything. But I mean, I think as long as your support group, anybody's support group sees that and knows that, and the people closest to them that matter know that, then it'll be easier. It'll be better. It'll be okay. The minute that you want to combat that with someone who's going through a loss and you want to say, you know what, you're going to have to just not come or pipe down because I need these people around, then you just have a conflicting situation and you're going to be the one that cuts the ties. Like, you particularly, the lost mom will cut the ties with the people that just aren't fitting into the equation. And that's all there is to it. Yeah. It's a coping mechanism. That's all there is to it. It's getting through life one day at a time, being as the best person you can be and being as happy as you could possibly be. And we all need that. And the funny thing is, people do this in life in general. It doesn't take trauma or loss for people to, have bad relationships or judge or grudge or push people out or hold things. I mean, look at reality TV. Like, they all hate each other. Like, so it's just, it's interesting that once you embrace the feelings like you've done. You've embraced that you're going through grief and you're trying to cope. You're trying to go day to day and figure out your new life. your lifestyle, what this is, who you are. As you're trying to figure that out, we all, to a degree, should be doing that and embracing the emotions that we have every day. Because a lot of people push them aside. A lot of people, don't acknowledge their own feelings. But the fact that you're like on Instagram talking about it, on a podcast talking about it, like people are like, she's doing what? Like, well, she's meeting it head on, okay? She's doing it as best as she possibly can, and she's doing a phenomenal job at meeting it head on and owning the fact. I guess my point is you're not cowering in the corner being all to yourself and in a bad mood and upset and rude and mean. You're open about it. You're like, this is what I'm going through on a given day. If I say this or I say that, nobody take offense. This is just me and this is how we're living, okay? And I've taken that on, which I don't really have the room because I didn't go through. No, I'm not really allowed to be like that. But
I feel like in a sense, don't you feel like everyone should be like that?
That's what I'm saying.
Like, or at least be open to like if someone was like, hey, you make me uncomfortable being here, I would be like, noted. You should check on that. I'm going to go. 100%. But your transparency, I see now. And then I'm going to have to make a decision on where we go from here. Instead of like nobody saying anything about how they feel or anything at any point.
Yeah. If you show up to a party and you're angsty and you're in the corner and it's like, what's wrong with Kat? It's like, well, you know what's wrong with Kat because she's completely open about it. And she's not doing that, by the way. You're showing up, you're putting on a happy face, like you're owning your situation. And it's just, people can't handle it to a degree, which is fine because we're not around them anymore.
Oh, God, do we want to talk about that?
No, we don't. But my point is, I think everybody to a degree can learn from the situation of owning your own emotions and cutting out people and things and emotions and situations and behaviors that don't make you your best self and don't give you a happy life day after day and don't allow you to like live the way you want to live and embrace the things you want to embrace. So I don't know. There's just like a bigger picture lesson. Like we're all trying to get along and move on.
And I think on that note, I think it's really important that we all try to see it from the other perspective. If I walk through life and I'd be like, hey, I'm going to be a dick forever because my kid died, like, and so it sucks for you, like that, and not try to see someone else's perspective of, hey, I don't want to be around you anymore because you are horrible. Like, you suck, and I know why you suck, but like we don't have a relationship anymore.
Yeah.
So, and I could be like, oh my God, I see that. I hear you. Let me check on that. Like, so, and by no means would I ever not own my child and say, own my feelings on how I feel about his death. But I still don't think at any point that allows me to stomp through life making people feel bad.
Right.
That's just not. Now, if my presence makes them feel awkward, air quotes, because they know my circumstance, that's on them. I can't. But if my actions are actively making people bad, the way that I talk, my tone, my vibe, and it's hurting people, I am now doing Brody a disservice. Now, I'm doing my grief a disservice. I'm doing my honoring him with a good life a disservice. That's not what I want. Now, it's a fine line because people want to wear their grief and wear their loss like it's who they are. But how you choose to live your life after this loss is who you are, not the loss. Because, and trust me, guys, this took a lot of therapy before I got here, but it was very, very much like I cannot clomp my way and be like, you people need to treat me a certain way because my baby died and I'm going to treat you like shit. That doesn't work like that. Life doesn't work like that. And am I better than anybody? No. Do I have a different perspective on life that some people may never have? Yes. My role then is not to keep reminding people of that. It's to help them see it too.
Yeah, that's. This whole thing, like I said, is like a self-check situation. It goes back to like people not saying anything and not doing anything, or saying the wrong things, you definitely need to put yourself in other people's shoes, one, just in general. And two, it's self-awareness and always, people do things for how it's going to make them feel at the end of the day. Like that's really like the most main common point I think is like, hey, I called her, she didn't call me back. Now I'm so upset. Like she didn't, well, no, did you call her because you needed that that justification of getting a call back? Or did you call her like because You know, it probably helped her to hear your voice and a voicemail and that you're supporting her. Like people sometimes just don't do things with the right intentions, like bottom line. And that's what you're saying, going back to like putting yourself in someone else's shoes and seeing it from their perspective and doing things with intention. Well, like, oh gosh, okay. If I were Kat, I'd probably see it this way, or just being a little bit more mindful of the other person.
Have done that
No,
sometimes.
a lot of people don't. I think the main thing is they protect themselves because they feel awkward or they don't know what to say, or it's easier to stay away, or it's easier just to like, I don't know, like.
I got some stuff, didn't I?
I mean, you just really think you do question what went through people's heads. What were your intentions with that? Did it help you? It make you feel better because you said something?
That's exactly it. I think that's it. I think they're checking boxes.
I know we want to teach everybody like the right way to do things.
There's no
here,
right way to do it. There really isn't. And that's good. As we wrap up, I want to say that there's no right or wrong way in trying to figure this all out as long as you're trying. Okay, people are going to miss, people are going to take missteps, people are going to have wins and all these things that you've done right, and there's going to be things that are not, and there's just no playbook. The reason why I wanted my sister on is because the way that she did it was extremely effective in the way that we are still friends, we're still sisters, obviously, but more importantly, we're still friends, and the process that has gotten us here for the 7 months, you know, she did it really well. And I think your insight is going to be very helpful for a lot of people in the way that your perspective and how you saw and how you dealt with it. And that people understand that this loss affects not just the parents, but everybody that's close to them and how they too need to buckle up for a new life with this person. And as much as people don't want to accept that, this is where we are now. So Lost Moms, I am so sorry that you're here, but I'm happy that you're listening. And to those that are close to you, I hope that this kind of puts some perspective on what can be done on your behalf. And I hope, will you let people reach out to you?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm on Instagram.
Do you want any and I'll put her handle and everything, her link and everything, but do you want to leave with like any kind of final thought for any support people or close people to Lost Moms?
I mean, I think it's just, I don't know how many times we've said it, but it's just the age old, like, you got to call, you got to touch base, you've got to be present, send them a note, send them a quote daily, like send them, I don't know, just let people know that you are there and give them the platform to discuss what they've been going through, to get their emotions out, to tell their story over and over and over, to get upset, to be vulnerable, to get angry, and just be there and take whatever hits come, because it may not always be nice back. It may not always be pretty. You may be told to go away and I don't need to talk to you at all. I mean, I think that's an even bigger challenge. Thank God you never told me, like, I need you to just leave me alone. Like, you never did that. Like I said, you did that once, but I fought you and came back the next day, I think, and you were accepting of it. Like, you were like, okay, yeah, sure. But I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are like, no, I want you to go away. Like, I want you out of my face, and I don't want you to talk to you at all. And my suggestion would be to keep trying and keep, like, if it's a text or if it's a message or a meme or a GIF or I don't know, a quote, whatever you can come up with that given day, just to let them know that they're there and the outlet to discuss everything and to talk and to go through things is there. Because I think the biggest thing for you is feeling like you were on an island absolutely all by yourself and nobody could absolutely imagine the magnitude of what was going on in your world. I don't think you even recognized it yourself to a degree in the beginning. You were just trying to get by day to day. So the only thing you can really do as a support person is just like, don't back down and don't give up. And just when you think it's like, okay, this is getting tiring. Like, I don't know how much longer I can do this. Do it even more. Like, keep going, keep showing up, keep sending the notes. Hey, let's go get coffee. Hey, do you want to FaceTime? Hey, let's go shopping. Let's do something therapeutic. And then there's the really rough days where you have to go in even harder and make sure that this person is okay and just needs to get through the day. So just get them through the day as best as you can and make it a priority. And when it gets, like I said, even harder to weave it into your schedule, or you think, oh, she's good today, I don't need to go over there, or I don't need to call her, we just talked yesterday, like, still do it. Still call. Still write. Still text. Still show up. And still be in every conversation mindful of what the person goes through every single day, whether you're there or not. Their mind is their mind. They wake up to it every day. It's their reality, not yours. You're fine, but be there as much as you possibly can be. Like, that's the only thing. Like, that's just what I've done and continue to do, and just put it first. Like, it is 100% our priority. When we talk, when we go places, are you okay with things? Is this going to trigger you? Like, I keep it in the forefront of my mind. Sometimes I forget and I say dumb things, and then I actually apologize because I'm like, oh shit, that was probably, I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. Definitely done that. But it's okay. Apologize.
Yeah.
And be vulnerable too, and say, hang on. Oops, that was totally my bad. I did not mean to offend you. It happens. I know you could get pissed, but like, just be completely transparent with emotions on both sides and communication, because I think it just helps you grow as a person. I feel like I've grown, and it helps it. I don't know. It helps you guys get through it and by day to day better if you can just embrace all the emotions. You can't fight them, you can't run from them, and you can't change them, and you can't hide from them. So just embrace them and use that communication. And don't send Bible verses. No, just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
And by the way, we're very faithful.
Oh my gosh,
people. We're Catholics. The church has been a very big part of our upbringing, and our, it's a part of us. And that's a whole nother episode of, I think, going forward, of faith. And
do you think Monsignor would come on?
yeah, I think he would.
No, that's a whole nother thing, guys. We're gonna get into that. But you nailed it, absolutely nailed it. So, Lost Moms, if you have a support person who's trying to be there for you, let them. And if you are a support person trying to be there for the lost mom, never give up. Thank you so much, though. Like, I'm gonna publicly thank you for never giving up and being here.
Oh, I thought you were thanking me for coming on. Well, okay.
And thank you for coming on.
That's all for this episode of the At a Total Loss podcast. If you'd like to help other lost moms benefit from our stories, please share, rate, and comment wherever you are listening. Thank you for being the strong mama that you are. And remember, when things have you at a total loss, we're here to help you find the light in the darkness. Take care, lost moms.